Hello and welcome to another episode of Mews R&D Podcast. Today with Rui, our senior product manager.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hi. Hello.
But you're
Thanks for
not,
having me.
yeah. Thanks for having you, as I say.
Yeah.
As I say wrongly. But you're not a product manager of a classic product, let's say, as you would think something that we sell to the client. What type of product managers are you?
Yeah. So currently, I work in the users team, and the users team is embedded in what we call the Platform Enablement Tribe. The Platform Enablement Tribe is a group of teams that develop software that is either transversal to all the products that supports other teams and other products. So sometimes we don't really work towards the end customer, like the Mews end customer, the hotels, or the guests of the hotels, and we work towards internal stakeholders like other development teams.
And that probably wasn't your dream to be when you grew up. So how was your path into product management?
Yeah, it's quite a funny story actually. I was in uni, and I was studying for electrical engineering, but things were actually not going that great in uni. I was getting very distracted by multiple side projects, and two of them were I was building some automations for sports betting. And also I was organizing some trips for concerts, snow trips and everything within the university community to kind of sponsor for my university expenses.
So you were a community manager, my colleague.
Yeah. Some sort of, back in the day, I was just really trying to survive.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually in one of those trips they organized, it was a snow trip. There were some product people that registered that worked in a betting company in Portugal. I don't think I can say name, but anyway.
But I think now these days every sports team has a betting company on their shirt.
Yeah, indeed, is across the industry, and eventually in that trip we start talking about the product because the product that they were building was the one that I was actually using, and we discussed multiple things about product. I didn't know what product was, right? So we're just about how the usability and how they could improve things. And eventually at the end of the trip, the girl, which is a good friend of mine right now, told me that, okay, you should work in the product team for us, although I didn't have any experience. So a couple of months went by, and I got a contact from this company saying, "Hey, we have an internship for a product team here. Would you be interested?" And yeah, I took the chance. It was nothing compared to what I was doing, so I stopped uni at that moment and started working in product since then. Mm-hmm. And since then, I've been working in online gambling, e-commerce, agriculture tech, manufacturing, and now hospitality.
Nice. And what's your relationship with hospitality? Were you always a fan of traveling, or?
Yes. As I mentioned, I was doing also trips to go into concerts. I still do it. One of my biggest hobbies is to go and visit a city while I go to a concert somewhere. And I do it quite often, as much as I can. I really enjoy the experience of like living in some different place that you don't know. You don't know the food, you don't know nothing.
So you go for the concert and then you figure out the city, or you go to the city and then you figure out there's a concert?
Normally, I find concerts and then I book the city to visit as well.
Mm-hmm. I have the same with stadiums.
Yeah.
So I always, actually, I don't plan it. When I go to a city, I check in my app if there is a game and I attend it.
Yeah, you should go to the FC Porto Stadium. It's quite a thing.
One day. Estadio Dragão.
Let me know. I have season tickets.
Okay. So you mentioned that you are in the platform enablement team, although I kind of incorrectly said that all your customers or all your users are internal, which is not true because it's also the hotels. But what's the difference between a customer that is, the software engineer in-house or somebody who's using, internal tools, and the customer that is buying our product?
Well, their core goal is different, right? But they're all doing their kind of different jobs. Even within a property, there's different customers, right? Either you're talking about someone that handles all the reservations or revenue. They behave differently, they think differently, and they have different ways of solving the problems. The same way for internal customers, but ultimately, I may be like a old school product manager that believes that you really want to optimize for what people are trying to solve for. So we believe that everybody has problems, everybody has constraints. So if you treat problems agnostically, you'll be able to really deep dive into each individual area and understand what the problems and constraints these people have, right? And as a product manager, your main responsibility is to really go and deep dive into those problems and try to optimize for solving those problems independently of the area. And in that area, the way that you collect feedback from them is where it differs more, because sometimes these internal teams, you talk to them on a regular basis, so you know them, so you have a really good relationship with them. It's easy to get feedback out of them. It's easy to kind of drill on that feedback because they somehow know how you work as well, because they are part of an engineering team. With customers is quite different. We were even at some properties this week with our team, and they have no idea how an engineering unit works. So
you almost need to present what is even possible.
Exactly. So we need to tell them how we operate. How do we do things? How do we prioritize things? Because they were saying like, hey, we have some really big problems, and you're here just fine tuning the thickness of the lines. And I was like, yeah, but that's not necessarily what we are only doing, right? So if you give them a bit of an overview on how you work, they will have a better framework to provide feedback to you. And this is the framework that you need to adapt. Either you're talking to external customers, internal customers, or whatnot.
Who's more responsible in giving feedback? If you can say on record.
Yeah. Well, that's a hard question. I think everybody
Let's say both of them are very responsible.
Yeah. Yeah. I think external customers are a bit more responsible for what we need to do, but and because they are a bit agnostic of what we do, they just say, this is wrong, I want this, and that's not necessarily what they might want, right? Or what they might need.
So you need to be actually able to explain even some probably workaround, because we think of, okay, this could be used by multiple properties if it's done this way.
Yes, and because the majority of the times they are so kind of blindsided to what they have to do, because it's their daily job. They don't have maybe the time to look outside of the box and do the research that we normally do. So there might be already solutions for their problems out there, or different ways of doing things that they don't know. And sometimes it's just a matter of talking to them about it. But the hospitality industry poses some really difficult problems, because we handle companies from like one small hostel run by 3 people
to an international
chain. And sometimes you have to try and make an effort to get a solution that is as flexible as possible to onboard everything.
Understood.
Yeah.
So you mentioned a little bit that there are different roles within the hotels that you talk to. And I know one of the projects that you've been working on is the granular permissions within. And before I ask you what it means and, what's the story behind, I want to say that, I've been in the company for 10 plus years. These permissions have been topic from the early on, and I think I've heard that in the user voice that we use to track, our most requested features, this is like the most upvoted one. So
yes,
I know I believe it's gonna be coming soon. So what's the story about that?
Yeah, it's coming soon. We've been working on it since the beginning of the year, but
it's been of times.
Yeah, it's such a heavy lift because the permissions touch the core logic of our product in this case. And rest assured, it's still the first ranked idea on user voice until this day since I'm in the company. But we are actually working on it. And we have it hopefully ready to release early 2026. and it will cover all the product. And the reason we believe it's super important we do this is that, as we were mentioning, there are properties that work differently across the board due to their size, their operational processes. So it's important to give everyone the right permission at the right times. Not only because of easy of use, because the product that we have is extremely complex, and it will grow more complex as soon as we integrate revenue systems and everything. But not only due to its complexity, due also to security liabilities, right? If you give the right people the right tools for them to do whatever they need to do for their job, you reduce security liabilities because you don't give them more access that they need to, and you make the product simpler because we will adapt the product as per the permissions that you'll have.
So the example here would be, for example, a front office manager that handles check-ins and check-outs doesn't necessarily need to have an access to the report on accounting or changing rates, right?
That's correct.
And vice versa, somebody in the reservation doesn't need to have access to personal profiles of people.
So we're doing it in such a granular way that you'll be able to view, edit, create, export individually for all the 100 and ish permissions that we're creating, which is super granular, and I believe is going to have a massive impact for it.
And now in my head, it's me when I was working with the product and thinking, okay, you're going to make this change. What's going to be the new default? How are we like announcing this? How are we because we have thousands and thousands of properties that use the system on different bases. So how do we like ensure that it's a smooth transition from old to new? Because you said it's a completely different mindset.
Yeah. So we're already working on the transition state, because it will require some actions from the users, because we cannot just simply go, hey, we have changed everything for you and now you handle it. So what we did is that we ran some data on how people are currently using it right now, and we associated a set of default permissions per a set of default rules that we believe are important for all the properties to have. And based on that, we're going to suggest what are the right permissions for people to have. So whenever we are ready to release, we will turn on what we call the migration tool, as per lack of a better name. And people will just have to accept the suggestions that we're going to give, and automatically all their permissions will be migrated.
Or they can adjust it for their needs?
Yes, or they can still adjust it for their needs.
It's like with the cookies, right? You can accept all, or you can always select.
Yes, you can always you can always like tailor it to exactly what the needs are on your property, given the way that you operate.
And a couple of episodes back, we had your colleague who works in the security team, and I believe this is closely tied to the phishing incidents that we've been seeing over the past year in the hospitality. So is this also kind of a step towards better management of this?
Indeed. One of the reasons that led us to do this is currently we have a high percentage of users which are property admins. And because of this over-abuse of this privilege, every time that one account is phished, it's very likely for that account to be an admin. And if the bad guys have access to an account that is an admin, they can do pretty much everything, right?
I guess it's a historical issue, no? That simply back many years ago, they set up some profile as an admin, and it sort of stayed, and nobody thought about it.
Exactly. So currently, by looking at the trends in our phishing attacks, there's two main actions that attackers do. They either infiltrate in the account and download the reservation reports, which is where our value is, right? Customer data, reservations data, and also they create other users. So if they use a real user to create a fake user, then it's really hard for us to understand who are the fake users and what they're doing actually in the product. Fun story. We heard last week, our customer success friends, they told us that In one property, there was one user that, they end up badly their contract. They were working a product, so they fired someone, and that person had high privilege permissions. So what he did is that on his last day, he kicked a bunch of colleagues out of the product and then logged out for the last time.
Like a gift for goodbye.
So, and for the property, like when you're starting the next shift, if you don't have access, it can become quite complex because you're locked out of the product without being able to support for your guests. So, and this is the kind of problems that, it seems anecdotal, but it's really impacting to our customers, and either for reducing these liabilities, increasing ease of use, is going to be a really improvement in our product for sure.
Another big part of your job now is to make sure that we integrate the acquisitions.
Yeah.
Because, as some of you may know, Mews buys a lot of companies. Sometimes it's a company that is to buy, some customer base, or sometimes it's a product acquisition. So you're involved in many of those product acquisitions. How do you manage all this? Because we've been known for having one stack, one cloud provider.
Yeah.
It was very homogeneous, and now we're getting these companies that are on different stacks with different types of working. So
whenever these acquisitions happen, there's due diligence that is done technically to make sure that at least there's some parity, or that the transition path is can be smooth. But my biggest concern at this stage, given the fact that we still are a customer-facing team, is that how does it work for our customers, right? Will they have to log in on the PMS, having this set of new permissions, then they log in the RMS, they have a different set of permissions with a different login, then POS, again, different permissions, different login. If you go to Mews community, you have to log in again. So I'm more concerned on how do we unify this user experience, and not only unifying for the sake of you having only one login, but so that we can cherish from having the same centralized customer identity
journey. No,
and it will help us out on the journey. So the journey will be the same for everyone. Hopefully, one journey only. But then you can get the products to talk to each other, because you'll have shared user account between products. And this is where we'll reap the most benefits, and we'll be able to unlock a lot of power for other teams as well, besides users.
So the ultimate goal is always to make it look like one.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure there is a transition period.
Yeah.
And by the way, POS is point of sales, RMS, revenue management system. So just we have the whole portfolio of abbreviations.
Yeah.
So the ultimate goal is to have it look the same.
Yeah, look the same, feel the same. And on top of that, being able to cherish from that common data so that you can get valuable insights from one product to the other. We call it, like, we have a vision for it. We call it the M suite.
Mm-hmm.
Same as you have the Google suite, right? You log in with your Google email. You have access to the calendar, to the email, to the forms, to everything. Same streamlined experience, and you cherish data from one to the other because everything is connected. Ideally, we'll have the M suite soon, where everything is connected.
Well, I used to always use that Mews is like an iPhone. When you buy it, it's all functional. You can use it, but you have to go to Marketplace to actually use it fully. So now I'm going to be using that Mews is like a Google. One day they'll be using that something is like Mews. So anyway, thank you very much for joining us. I know you have a trip back home. And as always, if you are on Slack, that means that you're working Mews, reach out to me or Rui. And Rui, question, do you answer on LinkedIn?
Yeah.
So if you are outside of Mews, you can always reach out to Rui and he will answer you.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining.
Thank you.